that we normally need to have about 7 or 8 of the sites represented.
On
Since we
one
don't
sec, Miss Goldenberg, Nuria wants me to ask Mr. Figueroa si puede escuchar. Señor Figueroa, ¿puede escuchar la señora Lundberg con la traducción?
Sí, muy bien, la escucho muy bien, gracias.
Thank you. Sorry I interrupted.
It's okay. Okie doke. So, let's see. Yes. Anyway, we're going to move ahead with the agenda. So, and we don't have to read the minutes. I'm going to turn the meeting right now over to Dr. Andrews.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us this evening to talk about our local control and accountability plan. I'm going to go slowly tonight just to accommodate our interpreters, make sure everyone can hear clearly. Local control and accountability plan is a portion of our school budget that we use to provide specific services for students using our local goals within BUSD. So go ahead and go to the next slide.
I lost this. I lost the screen sharing. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. All right, we have that one. Yeah, it's gone from my computer. Lovely. Just one second. I'm so sorry, you guys. Oh, finally. Okay. It's not letting me move forward. There we go. Okay. So sorry.
No worries. So the plan is a 3-year plan. Last year, we established this year as year 1. And this year we'll be updating the plan for year 2, which will be next year. The LCAP is an opportunity for us to share our stories and about our programs, as well as get input from our shareholders, parents, staff, administrators about what we think is going to work best to support our students. They're aligned with our board goals and the state. There's 8 state priorities that we also align our LCAP to. The specific components of the LCAP are the plan summary, the budget overview for parents, how we've engaged with educational partners like parents and this committee, our goals and actions, and then how we use our funding to increase or improve services for special populations. I'm going to talk about those special populations in this next slide. So these are the students that generate the funds. That's the primary funding in our LCAP. This is called our supplemental budget. These students generate those funds. This is where we also spend the funds to support these populations. So we do prioritize and, as much as possible, identify services or programs that will benefit these students more than the general population. You can see the categories here. We have students who qualify for free and reduced meal program.
Dr. Andrews, if you could pause for a second. Nuria is asking for a minute.
Yep. Okay, the 4 subgroups or the free and reduced meal application participants. We also include foster students, homeless student populations or students experiencing homelessness, and our English learner population, which is why we're here tonight. These students in the far right column is called unduplicated count. And the reason for that title is they may qualify in multiple categories, but they still only count as one student for funding purposes. So you would see that there's potential that a student is in the free and reduced meal program and also foster youth. They would qualify under both programs, but still only be counted once in the grand total And that's why they call it unduplicated. And that unduplicated count is what drives our funding. So you can see, compared to previous years, our funding should be somewhat stable as far as revenues and the funding that we receive from the state this year compared to last year. What is different this year with the budget is that we've been spending down carryover funds that were basically our reserves or money that was saved during the COVID-19 pandemic. We received one-time money from other funding sources such as ESSER funds and other grants during the pandemic. So we intentionally saved our supplemental funds to be spent later, as they didn't have to be expended by a certain date. And so you can see how that carryover has reduced over the last couple of years with our LCAP plan from 3 million to 2 million and to 1 million. And so when we're talking about planning our LCAP for next school year and budgeting for next school year, even though our revenues are going to be stable as far as our students and what the state gives us, our overall budget will have to decrease because we don't have as many carryover funds coming into next year. So that difference in our budget for next year is a difference of $500,000. And so just to clarify that, when we are planning and budgeting our LCAP for next school year, we will need to reduce spending by 500,000 in our plan. But we are solvent for this year. We can continue with all the programs that we planned for this school year. We just have to plan differently for next year. So with that in mind, what I want to do now is just talk through quickly all of the services and actions that we pay for out of our LCAP, as this will be part of our discussion to determine where we could reduce spending. This is goal one. Goal one is our instructional goal with the district. So this is to support students being college and career ready. You can see we spend money on things like class size reduction, ELD specialists, dual immersion programming at the elementary, ELD teachers at secondary, interpretation services for parents. Thank you, our interpreters tonight. Professional development for teachers. This is pre-service traditionally before school starts. We'd also have an induction PD teacher that works with new staff on supporting these populations. Response to intervention teachers to provide intervention for students who fall below grade level. And then also a middle school psychologist and behavior specialists for students who need additional support during the school day.
One thing that you skipped over were the paraeducators. And I just want to point out we have 20 positions. That's a lot of support for our English learners.
Thank you. In our next slide, we have additional goal one actions. Is specifically our English learner program. This is a big item, $1.5 million. And this is to provide the minimum requirements that a district needs to provide to support English learners. So this has to be included in our LCAP. You can see, just like we pointed out in the previous slide, we spend more than what we are required to. But this is the minimum we would need to have in place to support our English learner populations. The next one is full-time curriculum specialists at elementary. These are specialized teachers that are out of the classroom supporting staff and teachers with the instruction they provide at elementary. We have library coordinators at our elementary schools. We also have funds specifically to support our twice exceptional students. These are GATE students who may also be English learner, free and reduced meal, or foster or experiencing homelessness. So special training or professional development to support that population. We also have ELD instructional supports. This was a new item for this year with our growing English learner population. That's designed to provide ELD assistance and aids. But if we're not able to fill those positions, we have flexibility to use these funds for technology or materials to support that population. Another somewhat new item or increased item is sheltered ELD sections at secondary. These are specific to provide smaller class size or sheltered classrooms for English learners in these subjects of social studies and science. Traditionally, English is where we focus our English language learner instruction. These are designed to provide a better or improved environment for students to learn science and social studies if they are English learners. ELD instructional assistance at secondary, we just teased that item out to specifically monitor our spending and support. That's 5 instructional aides at our secondary schools.
Sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Anders, but Nuria was wondering, are the secondary sheltered ELD sections, are they separate classrooms?
In some cases, yes. So Muir specifically is a good example where they have a large enough ELD population that they may have an entire classroom of English learners getting instruction in social studies and science. Whereas Luther has a much smaller English learner population. So they are clustered in a smaller classroom with other students who are not English learners in those courses. So the funding here is designed to either reduce the class size with a mixed classroom or still maintain a reduced class size full of entirely English learners to get support. That allows us to focus instructional aids or other services in that setting. Great question. Our next item is called culturally responsive pedagogy, and this is professional learning community work. This is basically professional development or collaboration with our English and math teachers to improve instruction and support students being able to perform at grade level. And that's specific to English and math. And Ms. Goldenberg is pointing out professional development is our English our educator term for training and working with our teachers to improve practice.
Sorry, I'm trying to write with this pencil. It's funny. And then can you explain what an FTE is?
Yes. FTE is a budget term for a position. So sometimes the position's a part-time position. So FTE is a full-time equivalent. So those are 11 full-time positions. Last item here is RTI assessment programs. These are 2 software programs that help us assess students and make sure they're performing at grade level. We use the data from these assessments to provide intervention or adjust our instructional practices. So a lot going on in goal 1, our instructional goal. We did have to decrease spending in this year's plan overall, but actually increased the spending in our instructional goal. as we're really focused on improving instruction in Burbank Unified. Our next slide is Goal 2. Goal 2 is our goal about supporting students aside from academics, sort of supporting the whole student and being healthy and prepared for school. So Goal 2, starting with our Monterey teachers. Monterey is our continuation school, specifically for students who need an alternative high school setting, or students who are behind in credits that need a program to be able to catch up in order to graduate on time. So we fund teachers specifically for that program, as there's a high percentage of unduplicated students that attend Monterey. Next item is school-based counseling. This is through FSA. It's a program for all schools to provide counseling service for students who need that support. Secondary credit recovery. This is primarily the purchase of the Apex platform, which is a credit recovery platform for students to be able to recover credits if they've failed a course during the school year. This allows them to recover that credit and still stay on track to graduate. Elementary at-risk intervention specialists. These are classified positions, again, 11 full-time positions at our all 11 elementary schools. They do a variety of intervention supports, including social emotional learning, attendance monitoring, as well as behavioral support as needed during the school day. Student services attendance specialist. This position is focused on supporting our foster and homeless youth populations and making sure they are able to attend school on a regular basis. School climate and mental health survey. This is through a vendor called Hanover. It's a requirement of the LCAP to survey our families, and we use that information as valuable information to make decisions as a district. Our last one is our SOAR program. Last year, we closed one of our campuses. It was a very small campus called Community Day School. And we restructured that program to be part of the Monterey campus, and a specific program to support students who have specific behavioral concerns or things that need to be addressed behaviorally. Okay. Goal 3, I believe. This is our third goal that we have spending in our LCAP. Goal 3 is to provide high quality staff and teachers in our classrooms and schools. So the work here is mostly around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we budgeted for a consultant for this year. However, we've made the decision to use our in-house staff for this school year. So that item probably will not be spent, as we've trying to save some funds for next year, or utilize those funds in other areas. The other two are really working with our teachers to collaborate and lead trainings or professional development at their site around DEI work. Again, diversity, equity, and inclusion is creating an environment on our campus where all students, all staff feel welcomed and safe, and where they feel that they have a place if they feel threatened or unsafe, that they know where they can go to get support or be supported. That was our third goal. We do have a fourth goal as a district, but it's not in our LCAP because We don't actually spend any of our LCAP funds on Goal 4. Goal 4 is our maintenance of our facilities and campuses, and we don't spend our LCAP funds there. So really, as we go through the school year, the key point is we will be having conversations about next year's budget and looking at all of the items that I just shared with you to determine if we can reduce spending or reconfigure some of restructure some of our services to better support our students. Any questions?
No.
Jen, you were right on with 20 minutes, I think.
Cool. If parents have questions later on, oh, Nodia said, hang on, I'm not quite sure how to. Nodia, I think you can speak now. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we can't hear that question out in the audience.
You can't? Oh my
No,
gosh,
if
it's
you
so
if you
funny.
can, yeah, Jen, you may be able to hear, but we can't.
Okay, hang on one second. I'm gonna end interpretation. I'm so sorry, Nuria.
Miau.
You have to say it again.
Ah, no, señor, es que le estaba diciendo que si me escribía en el chat las preguntas, pero ahorita es cuando usted tiene que hablar, es ahorita hable o calle para siempre. Entonces, si tiene preguntas, ahorita es el momento. Está el señor Robin Anders,
Ajá.
sobre todo el presupuesto o comentarios, este es el momento, porque estamos viendo cómo distribuir los fondos pues para esta población, de estos 4 grupos que yo le he dicho, y los
Sí.
alumnos del inglés, ¿ok? ¿Qué preguntas tiene?
Mira, me gustaría al final, ahorita entendí acerca del presupuesto, cómo se divide, las metas y todo, ¿verdad? Entonces, pero al final me gustaría más, tengo unas preguntas más generales contigo, quiero saber un poquito más, qué esperan de mí más bien al incluirme en estas juntas, ¿no? Es lo que yo tengo duda. Del budget, del presupuesto, ahorita no tengo muchos comentarios porque no sé, te digo, qué esperan de mí. Entonces, me gustaría al final, si me pudieras ayudar con eso, entonces ya poder opinar, ¿verdad? ¿Cuál es el objetivo de todo esto? Porque
Voy a
todavía...
traducir lo que me dijo y voy a ver cómo quieren manejar esto, porque obviamente tenemos que seguir los protocolos de la Junta, como tal, hay una estructura.
Así es.
Entonces, ahorita voy a pedir permiso, nada más que tengo que traducir. He's saying that right now at this point, he understands the budget and he would also like to assimilate a little bit more the information. But what he has questions and he would like to know at the end if it's possible, which he has more questions in general. The most specific one is he wants to know what's the purpose of him being here, or what do you expect from him attending these meetings. So since I explained to him that there's a protocol and there is a process by which we have these meetings, I want to ask permission if it's possible that we open that forum, or you would like to handle it in another way.
I just like to quickly state what the purpose is. That's all. And then you can translate that. So our DELAC brings parents and other interested members together. And after we go over all the information, if parents have questions, if they have suggestions, if they have just comments in general, then they can share those. And if they don't, then they don't. But if we want to have a space where parents can ask questions if they'd like to, or make comments.
But Jennifer, just to add to that, we don't talk about specific students. we don't talk about specific situations in this setting. That is, reserved for a different type of meeting between like the principal, the teacher, and the parent.
Okay. So as I understand it, he's just supposed to participate only in what is covered about the meeting.
During the meeting,
That's all.
whatever the topics are of the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, and what would your contribution want? What's that's the only contribution you consider that he should have?
That he can ask questions if he has questions, make comments or suggestions if he has those.
Okay, because he might be a member or an officer from ELAC at John Burroughs because of what was
Right.
covered last meeting. That's why I'm asking. So the information is at the same level. Because he
So-
was told that if he wanted to volunteer as a member of ELAC, taking like vice president, etc.
Right. So he comes here and listens and learns about district level ELD and then goes back to Burroughs and can share some of that with Burroughs
Okay.
parents.
Para no dejarlo ahí nada más viendo cómo platicamos, en específico, la señorita Goldenberg lo que busca en la contribución de los padres es que de acuerdo a lo que se comenta, and tell me if I forget any point, Jen, please. I wrote it down, but we never know. Entonces, lo que se busca es que de acuerdo a lo que se vaya viendo en cada junta, si usted tiene alguna pregunta o comentario al respecto, pues entonces hace ese comentario. Asimismo, aquí en las juntas, esto sí es algo que es por confidencialidad, delicadeza, prudencia y educación. Cualquier cosa personal específica con respecto a su estudiante, eso se maneja de otra forma, ya sea en la escuela o de manera privada con la señorita Goldenberg o con el señor Kenapi, que ven los temas de los programas de los alumnos en inglés o específicamente con su especialista LD en su escuela, simplemente por delicadeza, ¿no? Y prudencia. Cualquier cosa específicamente que tenga que ver. Cuando quiera hablar sobre alguna opinión en general de la población, entonces sí es diferente. Y también otra cosa, porque yo le pregunté, porque usted estaba pensando en participar como voluntario de presidente, vicepresidente, etcétera. Yo le pregunté a la señorita, qué es lo que se esperaba de usted, y entonces me contestó que, pues usted obviamente va a venir a estas juntas que son a nivel distrital para
Sí.
obtener toda la información que aquí se obtiene. O sea, si usted ahorita, por ejemplo, fuera presidente, ahorita lo que dijo la señora Goldenberg, el señor Robin Anders sobre el presupuesto, usted hace como un
Sí.
resumen de lo que usted considere que para la población de John Burroughs van a estar. Y entonces en la siguiente junta que haya de ELAC,
Ajá.
usted nos platica a todos. No, pues vimos el presupuesto y vimos que la meta 1, que la meta 2, que la 3, que la meta 1 tiene que ver con preparar a los alumnos para la universidad, que la meta 2 es para el personal. Entonces usted tiene que ser como una esponja absorbente de toda esta información para que usted la lleve con su comité de ELAC. ELAC, según sus siglas en inglés, pero es que si le digo todo el rollo cada vez, pues nos tardamos 1000 años. Pero usted va a llegar con toda esa información con los papás de ELAC de John Burroughs, por ejemplo.
Mhm.
Y
Is
si
that-
ellos opinan o tienen alguna necesidad, pues obviamente se platica ahí y se transmite, viene de regreso a las juntas de DELAC, aquí en este foro, porque en el último rubro hay una cosa que se llama comentarios públicos y ahí es donde usted tiene un foro abierto para poder decir, en mi grupo de ELAC de John Burroughs tenemos esto. I don't know if I missed anything or
No, you didn't.
if I transmitted the concept properly, Ms. Goldenberg.
You did,
Okay.
Mr. Figueroa. Is that good? Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna keep going and see if I could just find. Oh my gosh. Okay,
La feria.
so I'm going to talk a little bit about the Title III site plans. Title III is they are federal grants and it's for English learners. There's one group, one fund for English learners and one for immigrants. And I forgot to put you back in your.
Exactly.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so they should be back now in their rooms and Senor Figueroa, you'd have to, nope, why is it not working? Because I could just hear you, Nuria. Manage language interpretation. No, okay, I'm gonna end it and I'll start it again. How weird, I can still hear you though. Listen in. Okay, oh, okay. I think we're good now. Nuria, try and speak. Oh, good, okay. Excellent. Alrighty. So, Title III, 2 grants we get from the federal government. One is to help our English learners, and one is to help our immigrant funds, immigrant students, sorry. Out of all of our sites in Burbank, 17 of them, that's all elementary, all middle school, all high school, receive these grants, and then they decide what to do with them. And that's part of ELAC. So I've asked them for their plans, and this is basically what they said they're going to spend the money on this year. 80% of the sites, so 80% of 17, are offering intervention for ELs, either after school or in the case of Burbank High School, they're going to do it next summer. About 2/3 of our sites are holding teacher professional development. Half of them have scheduled parent opportunities in either literacy or math. And then the other ones are using the money for interpretation, translation. So we're gonna help the parents out, and then 73% will purchase supplemental materials. Some materials that help us with our getting our kids to understand better and to practice more in English. So, and 23% are still working on their plans. And actually, I think it's down, it might be down to like just one site now. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm going to stick at 23 right now. I can't do the math. Okay. And then the next, oh, wait. Well, you know, if you have questions, put them in the chat and I can answer at the end. Okay. Welcome Fair. We originally scheduled it for September 7th. It was really hot, so then we rescheduled it to November. And so it was held just a few weeks ago in the morning. I just, of course, my own comment. It was a little too windy for our pop-up tents. Participation, we had 16 community and city organizations, which is more than last year. And we had 13 of our schools and or their parent-teacher associations have booths also, so people could learn about different schools. We had ourselves, instructional services and educational services were there. We had a first aid kit, so if anyone had questions for the nurse, they could ask. Let's see. Oh yeah, there are music and games. The music today or this time was great, except that it was really loud on one side and totally fine and reasonable on the other side. So I don't know if there's some way we can balance it. I don't know. Oh, I didn't know how many families participated yet. And so Mona Sleck, who's part of PTA Council, she emailed me and said that she doesn't have the exact number, but she said she thinks that more guests attended the event this time. And then one thing that she wanted to say that the family service agency that provide counseling on our campuses, they wrote to her and said, thank you so much for having the fair, that there was a family who didn't know like how to reach them. They'd heard about them, but they were able to connect in person, and that was really helpful. And then the other thing, two more things, that we had ambassadors, which are students who were bilingual, and they could take families around and help with translation. And that everyone who attended was really appreciative of the event.
And Jennifer, you may have said this, but this was a district PTA sponsored event.
Yes, they're the ones who did all the organizing. We just got the word out. So, and we had done it in April too. And our main goal was to be able to welcome our newest families, to Burbank Unified and let them know of everything that well, not everything, but there's so much, but a lot of what we offer and what the community offers.
And PTA would have liked to have done it earlier after September 7th, but there were too many schedule conflicts with other activities, and so that we couldn't use Memorial Field. Otherwise, we would have done it earlier.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you.
I just wonder how it'll work if they want to do it again next year, because it is going to be hot doing it so early.
Well, if we
And-
get on the calendar for end of September, beginning of October, then we hopefully will avoid some of the conflicts that we encountered in trying to reschedule it for those times.
I think it'd be great. My family's really appreciated it. And thank you, Jen, for being there too. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, Peter was there with me. It was he and I were holding down the
Holding
pop-up.
down the tent.
That was crazy. Oh, and then what I'm going to do for the parents who are with us, I will email out this presentation. And the presentation, this is a link to the exhibitors who attended. So if you're like, what is Family Service Agency? You can click on the link from the presentation that I'm sending you, and it describes what the different exhibitors provide, kind of services. So, okay, we are actually going to skip this part because normally we have chairperson, vice chair, secretary, and parliamentarian, but we need to have quorum, which is what I say, about 7 or 8 schools, and we have 3. So we'll have to table this till next time. And I already gave Miss Sleck's report, so we are actually done with that. And I can stop screen sharing. Okay. Perfect timing. If any parent would like to unmute, ask a question, make a comment, or not. Don't feel pressured. No? Okay. Well then, for the parents, you know how the way to reach any of us is with our first name and last name together at burbankusd.org. So I'm going to put, for example, Nuria. That's how you'd reach her in the chat. I put Nuria Lundberg at burbankusd.org. And even though my name says Jen, it's technically Jennifer, so you have to type out the whole thing. And again, it'll be in the presentation I will email to you. Anush, did you have a question or a comment or anything?
No questions, thank you. I'm so sorry. Today I was a bit under the weather. That's why I turned off my camera, just to listen to the presentation. Thank you so much for the presentation and for the meeting, by the way.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you. My pleasure.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I'm going to take Nuria and Anna out of their rooms.
Jaulita. Ya me
There you
sacaron de la
are.
jaulita.
Yes, you're now out of the doghouse. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Okay,
good night to everybody. Got to run to a meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Good
Thank you
evening.
very much.
Peter.
Take care.
Good night.
Buenas noches,
you.
señor Figueroa.
Buenas
Good night,
noches.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much, Robin. Okie doke. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Okay.
You guys believe I went to the ramen place today?
That's so funny.
Okay, it's on our calendar for tomorrow. I'm
What?
good for
I
water
didn't look
now. Thanks, Jen.
I didn't look at my calendar. I looked at my stupid brain.